Okay, I think Ida's over there, so right here is perfect. Good. So we call today a Haggadah primer, just to go through. Everybody has Haggadah. Everyone good?
Craig needs one. Craig needs one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here's one. Great. Good.
Thank you.
Okay. So actually, prior to the Haggadah, let's just look on page 14 over here, which you also have in our Art Scrolls Sidurim, and that is tonight after nightfall. I believe 7:52 is when it begins. That's when we should do our search for chametz, and it's not meant to be just a perfunctory going through the motions, right? But actually, think of places, right, where chametz might be that you might not have checked before, right? Kids' lunch boxes is a common villain when it comes to this. Sometimes you might find lollipops in rabbis' coat pockets. That can happen. That has happened. Yes.
One time, Pesach passed by, and like a month after Pesach, I found a breakfast bar in the front of my backpack.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, we traveled to this. We were living in Israel. We traveled to the States with all the kids, and at the last moment, we realized we had a whole box of wafers that was in one of the carry-ons that was there just in case we would need it. So yeah, so we actually do want to check. And there's the blessing beforehand is Al Biur Chametz, the top of page 14, which is actually meaning on the burning of the chametz. The English seems to be kind of interesting. Oh, there it is. Yeah, they say the removal of the chametz, right? So we make the blessing as we are starting the process, okay? Which is the checking tonight and the burning tomorrow. And an email will go out today, but we're going to have a fire pit set up over here to help people who want to burn the chametz here with us. And then the proclamation is made, right? The middle of page 14 and the bottom of page 14, there are two different proclamations. The middle is what's made tonight, where we're only declaring ownerless that which we are unaware of, but we still want to own that which we are aware of, so we can burn our chametz the next day, tomorrow, right? And the bottom of the page is the kol chamir v'chamia. There, all, right, without exception, there, whether we know about it, don't know about it, we want to make sure that it is all gone. Okay? Good. Let's now go to...
Any chametz that you find tonight, you have to burn it?
Any chametz you find tonight, you would either need to eat it, burn it, or place it amongst the things which are being sold tomorrow morning. Right? If anybody has yet to fill out their chametz sale form, the office has them. It's online, but the office has them also. Please do fill that out, and we will take care of that. Yes, Dov?
Do we separate something for tomorrow to eat?
Yeah, you could set aside stuff for tomorrow morning to eat.
So
the final time to eat chametz tomorrow is about 10:45. No, earlier.
Oh,
10:30.
10:15 is what the calendar says?
That's what the email said.
Yeah, that's what the email said. I don't want to argue with the email.
It's the last time to eat.
That's the last time to eat. Yeah.
Rabbi?
Yes.
I throw all my
eat it
bread
anymore.
out on the green belt for the birds. Is that okay instead of burning it?
In terms of association rules, or in terms
Yeah,
of...
that's fine. You can feed the birds. No, seriously.
Yes. You can do that, right? You know, traditionally we burn some of it, but you could also, throw it out to the ocean, throw it out, right? On a day when Pesach begins on a Saturday night, so then one would take any leftover chametz from that Shabbos, right, and give it a burial at sea, right, by sending it down the appropriate piping.
It's like pre-tashlich.
Yeah. Okay. Let us go to our seder. Okay, so we begin the seder on page 19 with the order of the seder. So why do we make a big issue out of singing or stating beginning with the order of the Seder.
It's the name of the seder.
So you don't.
Okay, that's almost like
Because the order
Right.
is already.
the baseball team, the Los Angeles Angels, actually is the Angels.
Okay.
So I'm asking,
Order
right,
of the
Los
Seder.
Angeles is the Angels. The Angels.
Order of the order.
So why do we start the Seder with the reading of the order? Because it's the Seder of the Seder. So let's go back a step. So why is it, Seder means order. Why is it called the Seder? It's also called the Haggadah, right? Well, we read, we tell the Haggadah at the Seder. Why is it called a Seder?
Well, we're doing a service, avodah. So it's an avodah that we're doing. So
It's
it
an
has to be done
avodah,
proper
and why? So why are we pointing out the importance of the order?
I don't.
The one thing is not chaotic or accidental. There is a reason for
Okay.
everything.
Okay.
And it's God's reason for getting
Okay, good.
You also
And I
see
think
different
that
numbers.
speaks to a underlying, deeper concept of the Seder is that nothing in life is haphazard. And even this horrific ordeal that we endured until we had the Exodus, that was also part of a Seder. And life has a Seder. We don't always understand it. We can almost never anticipate it. But our bitachon, our faith, our understanding is that there is a Seder. So when we're discussing the whole oppression and the deliverance, we need to understand, we need to incorporate this concept of Seder.
And look at Bereshit. You stay in order, everything in order, up to, not
Correct.
chaotic.
Correct.
Design.
Correct. On page 20, so there we begin the first of the steps of the Seder. How many steps are there in the Seder of the whole order that we read? The
It
Kadesh
depends
or
on whether
Chutz?
you attach motzi and matzah.
Hmm?
It depends on whether you attach motzi and matzah. You could have like
Right?
our scroll doesn't want to.
So how many is it?
15 minutes.
15 or
15
14.
steps. Well, motzi matzah are actually two different ones.
People
So
sometimes
15
attach
is
them.
correctly.
Well, we make two different brachot,
So 15
Yeah.
We're making hamotzi, right? Which is the Yom Tov aspect, the Lechem Mishnah. And we're also having the matzah, which is the Lechem Oni, the broken matzah aspect. So really is the two. So where else do we have 15?
The steps of the base of
Good. The steps on the Beit HaMikdash ascending to the Beit HaMikdash. This is meant to be our ascent. So we begin with Kadesh on page 20. Since this year, the first Seder is on Friday night. So on Friday night, we will incorporate that first paragraph, the Yom HaShishi.
Yep.
Saturday night Seder, we do not incorporate that, and we start in the middle of the page there. On Saturday night, though, instead of Yom HaShishi on page 22, we will incorporate Havdalah. Someone asked me this morning, Rabbi, do we say Havdalah this Saturday night? And the answer is yes and no. Right? We don't do our traditional, usual Havdalah, but we do incorporate Havdalah into our Kiddush that we say as part of the Seder. So we'll make the bracha Barei Morei Ha'esh. Where are we getting fire from?
existing flame.
So which?
Yom Tov candles.
Huh?
Yom Tov candles.
The Yom Tov candles. Okay? We will glance at the Yom Tov candles when we make that bracha Barei Morei Ha'esh. Now, again, the conversation this morning, right? So how do the women light the candles for the second night?
From another one existing flame.
Good. From an already existing flame. We can't start a fire on Yom Tov, nor can we put out a fire on Yom Tov. So you need to have an existing flame. What we do in my house, we don't have pilots in on our ovens, on stovetop. I think most don't have these days. So what we will light a yard site candle, even if it's not a yard site, and that way it burns for the 25 hours, and that way we light it before Yom Tov, and that way we have a flame from which to take to light the Yom Tov candles on Saturday night, on Motzei Shabbat. And that again, we don't ignite a flame, we also don't extinguish the flame. So you just have some aluminum foil there, or a little pan, and after you light the candles, you just put the match down, and should it run out of fuel, as it will momentarily, that's fine. But we don't extinguish the flame. Okay. And of course, Shechianu v'kiyamanu v'giyanu lazman hazeh, and then we lean left. Why are we leaning when we're drinking this wine?
We're free.
We are free.
It's a symbol of luxury.
A symbol of luxury, a symbol of royalty. I caught a royal pain in my back that I get after doing it for a little bit, but nevertheless, right? And there is the Shita of the Ravya who says that nowadays one needn't do it, but the custom certainly is to do it, right? And yeah, right? Lahalacha, if a person didn't lean for any of the cups, he or she does not need to re-drink it, except for the second kos, the second cup, which leads us right into the meal. So there, drinking further would not in any way indicate that we're being mosif ala kosot, that we're adding on more than the 4 kosot. Okay.
Rabbi, before you move on,
Yes.
if I'm lighting in my home but I'm going somewhere else, do I do shakiano in my home, or do I do it? I would do it in my home, wouldn't I? After.
Okay. So good, excellent point. Thank you, Mariah. So if a woman has made the bracha of shechianu already on the candles, then she does not make it again, right? This is on the day arriving, and if you've already made it in the candles, then you don't do it again over here. Someone else is making kiddush, it's not an issue.
Okay, so when I'm doing, I'm speaking of tomorrow night though.
Yes.
Like the first, okay.
Yes. So I believe we had it over here also. Do we have that? Yeah, on page 16. Right? Lahadlik ner shel yom tov, and shechianu v'kiyamanu v'giyanu lazman hazeh. The women incorporate shechianu when they are doing their hadlakat neirut. Okay?
Okay.
Good. Then we move on to Ur Chatz. And either the Baal HaSeder washes his hands, or everyone assembled washes their hands. What do you guys do at your house?
Just the ball seder.
Just the Baal Seder?
Yeah, just my dad. It caused a lot of confusion when I was younger.
Yep, different customs. Right? And then we come to the karpas. Number 3 on our list. The karpas is a little bit strange. We're taking a vegetable other than that which we use for the maror, and we're dipping it into salt water. It says a small amount should be used. The reason for that is that we don't want to necessitate an after blessing, and also this borei pri ha'adama that we're making now on the fruit of or the produce of the ground will also go into effect and cover what? The maror later on. Later on, we're going to make a bracha of ala chilas maror, but also have that in mind. Okay? And we dip this into the salt water. Why are we dipping? Why salt water? What is this meant to remind us of?
Hungry.
Okay? So, one explanation is that it is the tears, it is the sadness. At the same time, the dipping, we're going to ask soon in the Manishtana about this dipping that we do, okay? Because dipping also is a show of majesty, is a show of royalty. That was a very, very sophisticated manner of eating. The karpas, actually, I'm going to discuss this Shabbos morning in my drasha. Other things that the karpas also represents, right? Karpas, what kind of tragic dipping do we have in our history?
Yosef's oath.
Yosef's coat. Okay, so that's also going to be connected over here. But you'll have to come Shabbos morning to get the full gamut
Get to
of
share
that.
it at the seder
Hmm?
Friday night.
But you will at Saturday night. You have to leave some ammunition for the second night also, right? Okay. Yachatz. We then break the middle matzah. The smaller part goes back in between the other two, the upper and the lower one, and the larger one is put away for the afikomen. Why would that be the case? Why is the larger one put away and the smaller one utilized now?
We're supposed to conclude the meal with the remainder of the afikomer.
Correct.
So,
Okay, so things are like this is the lechem oni, the bread of affliction, the broken bread. So we take the smaller, less important piece as part of the lechem oni. The afikoman is representative of the taste that will remain in my mouth until the time of the geula, of the redemption, right? And we mentioned a number of times in different contexts that the way we view it is it's always getting better, right? The Jewish day begins with darkness, night, and then moves into daylight. We start with this unsurety, the fears of night, and then we move into the day, right? We have first Olam Hazeh with its confusion and its unsurety, and then we move on to Olam Haba, so the world to come. So the larger portion is put aside, and then we get to Magid. Magid is telling the story of the exodus of Yetziat Mitzrayim, and of course it's from Magid that the pasuk says, "V'hi gadata levincha," you shall tell your children. That's how we get the word Haggadah, and Magid is that mitzvah of the Haggadah. And the first thing we do is we lift up that broken matzah and we say, Halach ma'anya. This is the bread of affliction, the achalu avatan of our Mitzrayim that our fathers ate in the land of Egypt. Kol dichvin yetevi yechol, kol titzrich yetevi yifsach. Whoever is hungry, come and eat. Whoever is needy, come and yifsach. Celebrate the Pesach with us. Hashata hachar. Now we are here. L'shana haba ba'arad Yisrael. Next year in the land of Israel. Hashata avdei. L'shana haba b'nei chorin. Now we are slaves. Next year we should be b'nei chorin.
How does the Israeli Jew handle that paragraph?
Okay, so let's work our way over there. I understand we begin the Magid holding up the matzah, the broken matzah, say this is the bread of affliction. Now matzah has this duality to it. On one hand, it's the lechem oni, it's the terrible bread that was given to the slaves, the achla avatana that we ate in the land of Mitzrayim. At the same time, it also represents the geula, that we didn't have time for it to rise, and therefore that was the bread that we had when we left Mitzrayim. How could it be? Often the Gemara uses an expression, "Ein kategor nasa sanegor." Right? How can the defense become the prosecution, or vice versa? Right? How could it be that this bread has this this lechem, this matzah has this duality? How can it represent both the slavery and the affliction, and also represent the freedom and the royalty?
Can't have one without the other.
Good. So it goes back to what we were saying before, Warren, right? To understand that, as you said, you can't have one without the other, right? It was a seder. It was a process. And all that preceded is what led to this geula.
Also, it's how we perceive something. We can perceive it as a bread of slavery and affliction, or we can perceive it as, oh, well, I'm going to deal with this because it's freedom.
Okay.
So it has to do with your approach.
That's nice. That's nice. Right? We often say that we create the reality of the world around us.
Right.
based on our perception, our interpretation. You could have two different people with the same exact situation, and one is wallowing in their misery, the other person is overcome with gratitude over their blessings.
Also,
Very, very true. Yes.
You could say that there's so many instances within history when people think that they're free or experiencing the ultimate freedom, but they're actually being enslaved. So
Okay.
So I guess, there often people will never live their whole life like achieving an ultimate freedom because they're always being enslaved by something.
Good.
And there's very few people that have actually, learned enough and know enough that they will actually achieve this
Nice say
freedom.
that. We're going to come around to that to the very last line here in a moment. So let's just work our way through. Why all of a sudden, whoever is hungry, come and eat, right? Whoever needy, come and celebrate Pesach. Right? It's a little bit late for that, right? The invitation should have gone out before we're at the table, right? At that point, right? We're not really truly inviting anybody because, like I said, right? Either they're at the seder at that point or they're not. But this speaks about freedom. It means freedom is an aspect of it is the ability to decide what will I do with the resources that I have? What will I do with the gifts that I have? Now that I'm in control, am I in control? Am I going to hoard it all for myself? Or now that I'm in control, do I have the ability to share with others? There's a fascinating story about a woman who was in one of the concentration camps, and she was always sharing whatever she had, which is basically nothing. And she quoted a very famous teaching of Chazal, of the sages, with such a fascinating twist on it. Right? The sages say that afilu cherev munachat al tzavaro shel adam, even if a sword is on a person's neck, al tityaesh min ha-rachamim. Right? Do not be mityaesh, do not give up hope from compassion. Right? Which normally is understood, no matter how dire your circumstances. Yeshuat Hashem keheref ayin, God's redemption could come in the blink of an eye, right? And the last minute, the 11th hour, even with the sword on your neck, right, you might be the recipient of compassion. She said otherwise. She said, Al tityaesh min harachamim. No matter where you are, you have the sword on your neck, which certainly every Jew in those camps had the sword on their neck. Do not give up hope, minrach, of compassion, of not you being the recipient of compassion, but of your ability to exhibit compassion, to do good, and to share with others. So a component, we're not free. We're not free in order to now become self-centered and only concerned about ourselves. Right? Another question that's asked. Right? So why are we eating matzah? So we said there's this duality. It's the bread of affliction, but also it's the bread of redemption. Why is it the bread of redemption?
Because it's the thing that we ate when we were running out of Egypt.
And why were we eating that when we left Egypt?
Because we didn't have time to let it
We didn't
rise.
have time. Now, God, 210 years we're in Egypt. Right? You couldn't make it 210 years in 18 minutes. Right? Right? And let us walk out and have some nice challah. Right? Imagine you're getting out of prison, and here you come to a big celebratory meal. And what do you have? You have some matzah.
Crackers.
Right? Have a nice loaf of bread. I'm in Costco buying the shmura matzah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what is that? So I asked me, those are very expensive crackers. I don't know if I would recommend
It's
you buying
terrible.
this unless you're Jewish and preparing for a Pesach Seder. In which case, I
someone asked
highly
you.
recommend it. Right? So it couldn't be 210 years and a little bit more and let it turn into some nice bread. Right? But the idea is that we needed to know that our freedom was not meant to be you'll pardon me, a cakewalk. It was not meant to be, now we could just enjoy all the pleasures, all the good of life. There is a mission. There was a mission, and there is a mission that we are on. And certainly at the core of that mission is recognizing that the blessings that I have are coming from God, and I am meant to be God-like in my then sharing the blessings that I have with others. Yes?
I'm thinking also, because it doesn't have the yeast, and the yeast is bubbly and puffs everything up. So this is humble bread, and if you eat humble bread, you are what you eat.
Correct. Okay, Hashata Hacha L'Shana Haba B'Arad Yisrael. So Ida asks, what do they say in Israel?
Ooh,
right?
there you go.
Now we hear next year may be in the land of Israel. Well, first of all, I could say simply that our history has been such that when we were in Israel, we didn't always remain in Israel, right? So simply, I could say, right, no matter where we are, we hope that next year we will not have any Jewish tragedies, right, which will change the situation that we have towards the worst. And also, there's an aspect of Arad Yisrael, the land of Israel, which means an even more elevated state, which slides into now we are slaves. Next year we should be free. Now we're slaves.
Yeah, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
So that comes back to Ada, what you were saying earlier, right? That to a certain degree, yes. Until we reach the time of the Messianic period, where, as Ramban explains at the end of Devarim, that this Arlat Halev, as the pasuk calls it, the uncircumcised heart, meaning that we will have our desire, our passion will be to do
Hashem's will,
to do God's will, to do Hashem's will. And until then, we are all to a certain degree avadei. We are all to a certain degree enslaved to different patterns, different habits, different pulls, different desires, right? We are certainly not free as we are talking about over there. So that is the introduction to the Magid. And then, I would strongly urge, Natalie knows to remind me, because I get into the Seder and I forget all the things I need to be doing along the way, right? So the Seder plate is removed. The second of the 4 cups of wine is poured. And then we have the Ma Nishtana, right? The children asking the question. And the Mishnah Berurah writes that make sure that the kids don't ask the question and then go to sleep. Make sure they stick around at least for the first line of the answer, Mishnah Berurah says. Right? It turns into this beautiful, oh, so cute, so nice. Oh, he's doing it so beautifully, wonderful. Oh, all that Jewish education money hasn't been in vain, right? But make sure they stick around for the answer. So, Ma Nishtana, why is this Laila different? Mikol Haleilot. And what's so interesting is that we don't really have mitzvot of the night. Almost all of our mitzvot are day mitzvot, right? Talking about shofar, lulav, right? All these, right? The mitzvot are usually day mitzvot. Here, it's the focus on the night. And of course, we know the 4 questions are, right? Chametz and matzah, tonight only matzah. Other vegetables, tonight maror, the bitter herbs. Other nights we don't need to dip even once. Here we are dipping twice. All of the nights we could sit sitting or leaning, and this night we are all leaning. Okay? So we want to, the halacha is, if a person is having a seder by themselves, without anyone else there, what must they do?
Yes.
They must ask themselves the question,
To themselves.
right? And then give the answers.
I know that you could do one by yourself, but I guess if you have to.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Certainly, that that would not be the ideal.
Yeah.
Don't get in an argument
Right?
with yourself when you're
And we are having a seder here the second night. If there is anybody that you know of who is planning on having a seder by themselves or in need of a seder, or if the cost is an issue, please let me know, and they are more than welcome to join us. Right? More than welcome to join us.
Also, I guess like the first step to like achieving freedom is asking these questions, because you're not
Beautiful.
going to be free until you like
Beautiful,
analyze what's
beautiful.
going on in an inquisitive way.
Yeah, Pesach. Some explain that the word Pesach, the sound is pe, the mouth, sach, speaks. Sicha is speech, right? And as Ada pointed out, one of the aspects of freedom is having the ability to ask, to pursue, to challenge, to understand, right? A slave doesn't ask questions, doesn't say why, right? But rather, right, you don't ask questions, right? You'll even hear a harsh boss, right, to an underling, right? You're not here to ask questions. You're here to do your job, right? Right? Pesach, beautiful. That this is the mouth is speaking. This is a whole representation, a whole indication of this cherus, of this freedom. And there are those that explain that actually it's really one question that gets split up into the four. And not just why is this night different, but we are pinpointing the difference in that normally we have our days of celebration. We have our Simchat Torah, we have our Shabbat, we have our Yom Tovim. We have our days of celebration, and we have our days of sadness. We have our Tisha B'Av, we have other fast days. We have a Yom Kippur, we have a Rosh Hashanah. Each day really has its motive. It has what it is all about, and it's fully there. Along comes Pesach, and we're acting in somewhat of a schizophrenic manner. We're doing things that show slavery, that show oppression. That's the first two questions. The only matzah and not the fancy, distinguished, fine breads, and eating bitter herbs instead of others. So we're doing things that represent slavery and oppression. And then the next two questions is we're dipping, we're leaning, we're acting in a royal fashion. So the Manishtana is that this is so unique from all the different holidays in that we have this contradictory expressions. We have this acting again on this schizophrenic manner almost of slavery, oppression, freedom, royalty. And that is the question that lies at the root of the Seder. Right? And then again, as someone remind you, because I always forget, the Seder plate is returned, the matzot are kept uncovered as the Haggadah is recited in unison. Right? This is, the matzah is referred to as lechem oni. Oni can mean impoverished, the bread of affliction. Oneh means to respond. So it's also lechem oni, lechem she'onim aleihem devarim harbe, the bread that we speak on this, about this, many different things. And therefore, we uncover the matzah and we tell the story over the matzah. And the response to this dichotomy that we have in the practices of the evening is right there in the very first line. Avadim hayinu leparo b'mitzrayim v'yotzeinu Hashem Elokeinu misham b'yad chazaka u'v'zorah netuya. Why do we have this dichotomy? Because this is the holiday, this is the day, this is the night which had both aspects. Avadim hayinu, we were enslaved to Pharaoh in Mitzrayim. V'yotzienu Hashem Elokeinu misham, and Hashem our God took us out from there. Biyad chazakra, with chazakah, with a mighty hand, uvizroa nutuya, and an outstretched arm. Okay, so that is in capsule form what it's about. But then we're going to go through a whole series of paragraphs that are really letting us know how we should tell this story as opposed to the actual telling of the story.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, I'm sorry. That is why we have to have a Pesach be a full, long week long. Matzah one day, matzah the next. It isn't a 2-day or 3-day affair. Mm-hmm. You better take note because it's
Yep, and becomes a part of
all
us.
All the chametz is set aside.
That's right.
Which is a lot of fun and sweet rolls and challah and all that.
The ilu lo hotzi, and had Hashem not taken us out from Mitzrayim, so that was then. No, actually, it's letting us know that is now. Had Hashem not taken us out from Mitzrayim, we and our children, our grandchildren would have still been enslaved to Paro in Mitzrayim. Right? Now, how many people are still enslaved today? Unfortunately, many people are still enslaved today. Right? You know, living here in our bubble, in the bubble, as I like to call it, in Irvine, California, in the United States, right? But there is a tremendous amount of oppression that continues on today. And there also is this spiritual, as we discussed earlier, this spiritual slavery. And the Torah was called Charut al Haluchot, engraved on the tablets. We also translate to mean as Cherut, freedom on the tablets. So our exodus leading to Har Sinai and Matan Torah is what enabled us to not be enslaved. That no matter how wise, understanding, sage, how knowledgeable you must be, mitzvah aleinu, it's a mitzvah to tell the story Tzim Mitzrayim, and all those who increase the story, harei zeh meshubach, right? Meaning, this is not an intellectual exercise, and no matter how bright a person might have been, they would still be in the same lot as everyone else. And therefore, we are all in, and the more we tell about it, the better it is. This is meant to be experiential, not simply way back then, that's what happened, right? But this is meant to be experiential for us to feel it and to recognize how it impacts upon us. And then we bring a proof to that. We bring sages, 5 great sages. And they were there in Bnei Brak. So we see no matter how wise you are, how knowledgeable, how understanding you are, you've got to be all in. That's the first half of the statement. And the second half was the more you tell about it, the better. Here you have all of these great sages, Rabbi Akiva, those of Azariah, Yeshua, and they're there the whole night, going straight through until the morning. Well, those of Azariah famously said, right, I would not have known to speak about Yetziat Mitzrayim Baleilot until Ben Zoma taught it to me. Now, Ben Zoma was a Talmud of his, was a student of his, yet he learned this from the student that we have the mitzvah to speak about it by day and by night, right? Olam Hazeh and Yemot HaMashiach. And again, over here, a number of things that we learn from this, but we see that a person, no matter how wise you are, Pirkei Avos said, who's the truly wise person?
He who learns from everyone.
Halomed Mikol Adam, one who learns from everyone. So, all right, I'm at the Seder, I know everything. Close your mouth, open your ears, and you'll hear a lot more than you had realized. Baruch HaMakom Baruch Hu, Baruch Torah L'Amo Yisrael Baruch Hu, Kenegru on page 28, corresponding to the 4 sons the Torah spoke. Right? There are different times the Torah, you have the mitzvah to tell the Haggadah, to tell the story to your children, and it expresses it in different ways. We need to tailor the message to the audience. And we say, Baruch HaMakom, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shem D'Olam Yisrael, Baruch Hu. We say Baruch 4 times, and we say the 4 children, Echad Chacham, Echad Rasha, Echad Tam, Echad Sheni Yisrael, one who is wise, one who is wicked, one who is simple, one who is unable to ask. Why do we keep repeating Echad, Echad, Echad? Why Baruch, Baruch, Baruch for each of them? Right? Know that every child is a bracha, and there is much that one can learn from. There is much that one can appreciate, and each one asks their type of question, and we have the answers that are appropriate. The Chacham, the wise son, asks very, very in detail, and we give him a detailed answer. The wicked son, he says, Ma avodah lachem. Right? Why is this? He's excluding himself. Because he excluded himself, he denies the basic principle of Judaism. Afatah hakeyet shinav, blunt his teeth, and tell him, God did this for us who left Mitzrayim. Had you been there, you would not have been redeemed. Very, very harsh. Now, I'm going to speak about this, I think, the second night of Pesach, between Mincha and Marav. But let me, I'll share it with you now, right, in a shorter version. And if you're there, right, don't heckle me if you heard it already, okay? So, just 1 second, okay? So, the Slonim Rebbe offers a very, very beautiful explanation, right? Because, this is not our way, right? We don't go slamming people. We look for every opportunity to bring someone close, right? And this seems to go against that view, and seems to go against what I think all of us feel is a better approach, right, to bring people closer. So he explains that this Rasha is a person who views himself as a Rasha, who thinks, oh, I'm not doing everything the way I'm supposed to be doing it. And therefore, the person thinks, I'm out. I'm not a part, really, of this nation. I don't have my role here. I don't have my chelek. I don't have my portion over here. So I'm not doing everything right. And the person doesn't recognize who they are, their potential. They don't realize just, I think Gemara tells us that if you've got 999 prosecuting angels bringing up things that one has done that has not been so great, and there's one, we speak about this on the high holidays, and there's one who's there, Echad mini elef, 1 out of 1,000, Hashem will listen to that one. There's some that say Vayikra, right? The start of the third sefer of the Torah has a little aleph, right? Even if you have a little bit out of that elef, you have a little one. You have 1 out of the elef. Aleph is one. Elef, right? Means 1,000 also. Right? You have a little bit there, right? So this person views himself, and he says, "Ma avodah zot lachem," right? Right? This is for you, right? It's not for me. I'm not really a part. I'm not beloved in Hashem's eyes. I'm not doing what I should be doing. So if he has excluded himself, kafar beikar, he has denied the very, very existence of what? Of that godliness that is in each and every person. Afata. So too, you have to say to him, Hakiyachin, you have to blunt his teeth, right? He's being too sharp on himself. And say, this is what Hashem did for us when we left Mitzrayim. Look how we all were at that time. There were none who were, no one was perfectly righteous. Ilu hayashem lo yinigal. Who were those who never left Egypt? Those who gave up on the geula, on the redemption. Those who gave up on themselves. But you are a descendant of those who did not. And that's why you are here, and that's why we're here at the Seder. That is the approach, I think a very beautiful approach, that the Slonim Rebbe And that was so. I didn't want to leave that for the second seder. I wanted to give you a sneak peek on that one.
There's a question I've heard at the Seder before, and I haven't heard a good answer, but in the Chacham he says Etchem, which is also to you.
Yeah. Yeah, right? So Judy's is raising a beautiful point. When the Rasha says Lachem, we jump all over him. Oh, for us, but not for you, you're excluding yourself. The Chacham used that same terminology of Etchem for you. Right? So there are those that explain the word before that was Hashem Elokeinu. Hashem our God. So if he's calling Hashem our God, he's not excluding himself when he says Eschem, right? Others say that it's not so much what you say, but it's often how you say it, right? See, he was asking in the context of, teach me all these things that have been commanded to you, to us, right? Right? But those are points that are made. Okay, so we deal with each one as they are. Yes?
Okay, sorry, I just, recently, in a Jewish studies class, that we were learning a little bit about the Rasha and looking at like the Talmud and the Sukkim and things like that. And we had an assignment. Our Jewish studies teacher, he specifically said, the assignment is defend the Rasha. Say why the Rasha is not actually Rasha. And I thought, really? Like, instead of defending the Rasha, I'm going to explain why I think